Well, you know what dopamine persistence looks like really in daily life is we're constantly stimulating with those things that you talked about,
Mhm.
which eventually leads to like a lack of motivation. It could end up in depression.
What damages the liver? There's a couple of things we think of automatically. It's alcohol. Too much alcohol can create that alcoholic fatty liver. But we also don't realize how bad that the liver cannot process high fructose corn syrup.
It is resistance exercise, the tug of the tendons and the ligaments on the bones that signal the deposition of the minerals in the bones. So that's why, as we get a little bit older, resistance training is absolutely imperative to prevent the degeneration of the bones.
Let's go.
Did you know that 90% of Americans are living on this thing called a dopamine hangover? That's right, we're looking for the next quick fix, whether it is social media, alcohol, dope, food, sugar, sweets, gambling, and the list goes on. And when that high wanes off, it can lead to a state of depression. So, of course, we're going to want to go looking for the next hit.
Well, it kind of makes sense if you look at drug addiction, or let's look at cocaine that drives the dopaminergic or dopamine pathway. Why do people want to go back and get more? Because they're craving that dopamine high. And every time you go back, you want to, they call it, like chasing the demon. You want to chase that high that you had the first time, and you got to take more to get the same high. So it really is much like a drug addicted concept you're talking about, this dopamine hangover that we get. But I look at dopamine thinking from the standpoint of a runner's high. There's such a thing as a runner's high. They get, I know our producer Stevie likes to run. He probably gets a runner's high. I mean,
I know when I used to run, I sure did.
yeah, it does make you feel good. You've accomplished something, you achieved a distance, you achieved a time. It's great, right? But at the same time, if you stop that, you're always going to be down or low because you're not doing that. Therein lies the problem, because
Is that the dopamine
that's
hangover?
the hangover, because you just don't feel well. You almost feel sick. You got to go back and get it again. And all that said, there are healthy things you can do to achieve, that. Go out for a walk, get some sunshine, change the direction of this. You can do that often. That's okay. You can do that all day long, every day, you're fine. But there are things that people do to drive dopamine today, like get on the cell phone all the time, social media addicted, and screen time. I think that's the most dreaded addiction right now, in my opinion, that we have, upon us.
Well, you know what dopamine persistence looks like really in daily life is we're constantly stimulating with those things that you talked about,
Mhm.
which eventually leads to like a lack of motivation. It could end up in depression. We could even be so overstimulated that sleep really isn't even enough. We're waking up exhausted or tired. And then we could even potentially feel anxious because that dopamine high is missing. So now we know that all of these things can cause a dopamine hangover. We seek after it. But what would be some really healthy habits to help people put things into their life
Yeah.
instead of just overstimulating with this dopamine high?
Well, I think that, one thing to look at is not just breaking addictions, but replacing addictions. In other words, you don't always focus on what you're doing wrong and what you need help with. You focus on things you can do that become addictive, that are actually good. So I say switch the addictions. Switch to a type of exercise that might be relaxing,
So
like
maybe like a
walking.
dopamine fast. You do instead
That's
of
it.
going for a big long run that creates an excessive dopamine hit, go for a serotonin walk.
Go for a walk, and fast from your cell phone a while. We were talking about this
That's
just
good.
today to leave our cell phones in the car when we go to dinner.
Yeah,
I'm
how many
not.
times do we sit at dinner and we look around us and we're the only two
It,
that are talking to each other?
I think that's the biggest thing I was talking about is people don't communicate anymore. And so they're looking for some kind of stimulation to communicate, and they get that through a screen, and that's not human communication or human interaction, which hurts us on one hand, but it also gets us going back because it's so easy to get to. It's like there it is all the time. You can have addiction to dopamine even by eating, processed foods and sugars. The same kind of deal because they drive dopamine as well. So that's why people go back and forth again with the food addiction stuff.
Well, and another thing that really needs to happen is we need to practice mindfulness.
Mm.
And I don't think we're really even taught that in grade school, middle school, high school, or even college, is this concept of mindfulness.
Yeah.
If you don't know that you're actually seeking after a dopamine high, you can't necessarily go after correcting it. But once you take a step back and you start to live your life with a sense of mindfulness, you can perhaps adjust some of these excessive habits. It doesn't mean that it has to fully go away, but maybe not be to the extent where it's going to cause you a lack of motivation, a
Yeah.
depression, and set you up for sickness down the road.
Well, in mindfulness, just so you're wondering, it's looking at yourself unashamedly, non-judgmentally, understanding where you are, what you are, bringing yourself to the present. And we all are works of, adjustment. We're all works of art. Every day you try to do better. So we've got to eliminate this dopamine hangover, as we described what it was, but replace it with some dopamine uplifting things that can be done in a healthy way. If you're suffering from fatigue, if you know you got toxic overload because you're bringing in stuff that's actually inflammatory and toxic, it is time to get some answers. It's time to turn things around. It's time to get your body in a place where it can function again, because toxic buildup can and does and will kill you.
Kingdom Detox and Kingdom Detox packets.
In those are the supporting nutrients, the supporting micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and amino acids that support all the functions of a whole Kingdom Detox. It also has Kingdom Fuel with it, so you can do a whole 2-week detox process with the detox packs, or you can just take the detox packs. Either way is fine, but it's going to support that process.
So the body's completely nourished. It gets a little bit of rest because it's not having to over digest, so to speak, and it gets the right nutrients that support those phases.
So we got to get the toxins out and let your body function well again. And that's why the Kingdom Detox process works.
I don't know about you, but I have to have that cup of coffee in the morning. And Kingdom Coffee is mold-free, it is pesticide-free, and it is organic. It's got this flavor that is delicious. You don't even have to put cream or sweetener in it.
And it's Kingdom Cup with a K,
K.
right? So this is important. 50% of all coffee at least contains mold. And this is a key thing. That's in bean form, right? So you're going to be a little grinder. They're just a few bucks. Grind it up, put it in your maker, and make it. Why did we go with the bean form, the whole bean? Because ultimately the powder form is the one that gathers the most moisture. And that means the more potential mold development. So this is actually organic, mold-free, certified. It's got a little certificate with it. That's important because ultimately people drink coffee. It's cultural. And so we tried to meet the culture where it is and create a healthy alternative.
Hey friends, you already know the answer to this, but we'll ask you anyway. If you stay away from your favorite junk food for a month and then go back to supersizing it, will your health improve?
Well, that's the thing about change. To change, we have to be as consistent as possible.
And when we go back to an old habit, it's not the end of the world. We just get back at the new habit.
Before you know it, real transformation is evident to you and others.
That's why we offer a bunch of helpful bonuses when you subscribe to Kingdom Fuel.
Kingdom Fuel is our complete nutritional meal shake.
It's the simple start to a transformed life, and we'll auto ship every month so you don't run out.
You'll receive 2 free shaker cups, free access to our video courses, and a monthly call with us filled with practical, inspiration.
Just see the link below or on your screen and subscribe today.
Kingdom Candy with a K again. 2 flavors. We got salted
Delicious.
caramel and peanut butter. These are great. I mean, they're
kind of like a complete meal.
yeah, they're 200 calories. People want to know that all the time, and not that we're worried about calories, but these things have great ingredients. They're not sweetened with sugars, and they don't have those false sugars or fake sugars, artificial
They've got
sugars.
fiber in them. It's really only 2 grams of sugar. I refer to it as the sweet without the cheat. It can be that your liver is overloaded and you don't even know it. The liver is the body's major detoxifying organ that sits under your right rib cage and does a lot of work for you. But it can get stressed, it can get inflamed, it can be bogging you down simply because of your habits and your body's ability to eliminate the toxic waste efficiently.
Or
Let's
it can
talk
get
about
fatty too, right?
It can definitely get fatty because of the overload of toxicity that's put in it, whether it's alcohol, whether it's the standard American diet, high fructose corn syrup, seed oils, and the like. Even different drugs or medications can bog the liver down.
Do you remember when we went deer hunting together?
Oh, I sure do.
So listen, we went deer hunting together, and it was one of the very first times that Michele was with me, and I shot this big old buck, right? And I thought to myself, I'm excited now. And then I got unexcited pretty quick because I realized that I've got to go there and take a knife and cut this thing open. I'm thinking she's never going to go back with me again. So I go over there and I cut this deer open. Remember that?
True story.
I cut this deer open, and I get in there and start pulling out, the
innards,
the guts, the organs, right? And I get to this thing called the liver, and I've got rubber gloves on. She doesn't. And we look at the liver and she goes, oh my gosh, I have never seen a liver that clean. Of course, you compare that, an animal that's living off the land, to a human's liver. And I'll never forget that because that was a clean liver. It was just nice in that dark red. And human livers have fatty streaks in them typically.
Well, oftentimes I remember standing at the side of the surgeon's table when I was in residency. And of course, there were a lot of gallbladders that were being taken out. And it was an old procedure where they called it a lap chole open. And you could actually see the liver, and you could see the cysts, liver cysts. You could see the different fibrous textures of the liver from person to person. Sometimes even a fibrous liver occurred in a younger adult.
Well, we don't think about the liver being damaged, but let's think about what damages the liver. There's a couple of things we think of automatically. It's alcohol. Too much alcohol can create that alcoholic fatty liver, and the liver starts to decay. We know that, but we also don't realize how bad that the liver cannot process high fructose corn syrup. When the body sees that, it's like a foreign invader, and it taxes the liver, so we can get non-alcoholic fatty liver. Today, they're calling it metabolic fatty liver disease. But let's face it, it's because of the garbage we eat. The garbage we eat is causing the liver to be dysfunctional.
Well, interestingly enough, there's several ways that you can go about evaluating whether your liver is under stress. A simple blood test looking at liver enzymes, AST, ALT, and GGT, can tell you whether or not your liver enzymes are elevated. You can also do a simple body composition analysis. If your visceral fat is on the elevation, meaning above the scale of 10, perhaps your liver is stressed and it is being bogged down by the deposition of fat in the liver. That is not a good thing. If you are unable to get that under control with your lifestyle and your nutrition, it might be time to move on to the next step and even getting a non-invasive scan called a fibroscan. That fibroscan can actually tell the stages of fibrosis that are happening in the liver. And believe it or not, the liver can heal. If we do the right things by our bodies, that liver can get better.
Isn't that the only organ that can regenerate?
No, the skin can regenerate.
I guess so, right, yeah. But the liver is the organ system that we don't think about too much. You could actually take a piece and snip it off there and it would grow back.
It is highly regenerative.
Mm-hmm.
It has been thought that the only organ that can't regenerate is the nerves in the nervous system, but we are now finding out that the nerves are plastic. This concept of neuroplasticity. So it's just a marvelous thing that if we give the body what it needs and we live in accordance with biological laws and physiology, things heal and they age less rapidly, meaning we don't have to be a subject of this thing called painful aging.
We don't. And remember that if the liver can heal, but remember what it's important for. The liver is so important for detoxification function, for production of things like cholesterol, for even vitamins and mineral storage, even enzymatic things like that. It does so many things, and we have to have it to function well. So give your liver some love. Care for it nicely, and it'll treat you nicely on the other side.
Causes and remedies to avoid joint pain.
We teach you how to avoid the ouch coming up.
Hey friends, you already know the answer to this, but we'll ask you anyway. If you stay away from your favorite junk food for a month and then go back to supersizing it, will your health improve?
Well, that's the thing about change. To change, we have to be as consistent as possible.
And when we go back to an old habit, it's not the end of the world. We just get back at the new habit.
Before you know it, real transformation is evident to you and others.
That's why we offer a bunch of helpful bonuses when you subscribe to Kingdom Fuel.
Kingdom Fuel is our complete nutritional meal shake.
It's the simple start to a transformed life, and we'll auto ship every month so you don't run out.
You'll receive 2 free shaker cups, free access to our video courses, and a monthly call with us filled with practical inspiration.
Just see the link below or on your screen and subscribe today.
Now we have it, Kingdom Crunch.
It's important to start breakfast off with a power-packed punch. You want a complete amino acid score, good protein. If you turn the label over and look at the back of the box, there is no added sugars in either one of these flavors, either peanut butter or acai bowl.
Peanut butter has 11 grams of high-quality protein. Acai bowl has 8. Peanut butter has 11 grams of carbohydrate, acai bowl 12, and both of them have a good solid fat content at 6 grams. Very filling, very healthy.
You will be fueling yourself with high quality fuel, starting off the day right. You can even use Kingdom Crunch as a snack in the middle of the day if you just have a craving and you want to eat something that is good for you, it has a crunch, and doesn't have a lot of calories.
There you go. Diabetic friendly, keto friendly, paleo friendly, Kingdom Crunch, and
Child friendly.
if you're suffering from fatigue, if you know you got toxic overload because you're bringing in stuff that's actually inflammatory and toxic, it is time to get some answers. It's time to turn things around. It's time to get your body in a place where it can function again, because toxic buildup can and does and will kill you.
Kingdom Detox and Kingdom Detox packets.
In those are the supporting nutrients, the supporting micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and amino acids that support all the functions of a whole Kingdom Detox. It also has Kingdom Fuel with it, so you can do a whole 2-week detox process with the detox packs, or you can just take the detox packs. Either way is fine, but it's going to support that process.
So the body's completely nourished. It gets a little bit of rest because it's not having to over digest, so to speak, and it gets the right nutrients that support those phases.
So we got to get the toxins out and let your body function well again. And that's why the Kingdom Detox process works.
Let's talk about some causes and some remedies to avoid joint pain.
Well, joint pain is super common these days. I mean, whether it be knee pain, elbow pain, um, shoulder pain, wrist pain, it's super common, and especially with the way we utilize our bodies these days with repetitive motions. You see that repeatedly over the course of time, and then we typically will do down the road of just a cortisone shot, which I've talked about that in previous episodes before. That is not a remedy. Is it sometimes a treatment we might do occasionally if we have debilitating pain? Yes, but it doesn't provide a remedy. There's a bunch of things we can do for that. One of the things that I go for, first of all, is omega-3 fatty acids. And I like to get those things up there to 3 grams of at least a 3-to-2 ratio of EPA over DHA. People are like, EPA, okay. Eicosapentaenoic acid, DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. Just trust me on this. They're essential omega-3 fatty acids. So it's not just getting fish oil, because you can get fish oil that has a very relatively low amount of those things. It's getting the right omega-3s that are essential at the right ratios, at the right amounts. And I like 3 grams of omega-3s.
So let's take, for example, the fact that the pain can be coming from a disease process like osteoporosis. If that is the cause or the problem, we need to work towards the solution. Well, what's the solution in that case? It's going to be the right amount of resistance exercise. It is resistance exercise, the tug of the tendons and the ligaments on the bones that signal the deposition of the minerals in the bones. So that's why as we get a little bit older, resistance training is absolutely imperative to prevent the degeneration of the bones. Then, of course, we've got to get the right nutrition. We've got to get those nutrients in the system. Omega-3 fatty acids at the top of the list. The proper calcium-magnesium ratios. Vitamin D is essential for the absorption of calcium to the gut. And its buddy, K2, tells calcium to go to the bones and not to the arteries. So resistance training, supplementation, and of course, diet. If we have a diet that is full of soda pop and acidic foods, lots of caffeine and things that are pulling minerals out of the bones, we're degrading faster than we're regenerating. So we have to be mindful of what's at the end of our fork and what we're feeding ourselves every single day.
When you mentioned the calcium to magnesium ratio, a lot of people are confused. Years ago, it used to be 2 or 3 parts calcium to 1 part magnesium. Slowly over time, it's now about 1 to 1. It really needs to be more likely about 2 to 1 magnesium over calcium. It's really important because you can get too much calcium in the system. It may help your bones, but it's going to accumulate in your arteries. And so that's not a good thing. I think too, when you look at the concept of things like an osteoarthritis, right, would be inflammation of the joint, right? Itis meaning inflammation. So I'm thinking immediately, anti-inflammatory foods, good gut health and things like that, because that does relate as well. So you always got to look at the big picture in this, don't you? Because a lot of times we look at, well, I've got knee pains. It must be the knees problem. Well, okay, that might have some problem there that we need to figure out, but the problem could be systemic, that you just manifest with the knee pain, right?
That's true. What if you have an autoimmune condition like rheumatoid arthritis, for example, or psoriatic arthritis, for example? It's important to know what the root cause of the problem is so we know how to go after it. Now, a lot of these autoimmune conditions, they are worsened by an unhealthy nutritional protocol or an unhealthy diet. We'll call it a diet because diets kill the body, just like they kill your attitude when you're on a diet. You feel like you're going to die and you want to quit. So we have to change that diet, that standard American diet, into a live it. Eating to live is essential. So you're taking in the right nutrients. And at the end of the day, the end result is gut health. So if we're taking in the standard American diet, we're destroying the GI tract, the gut health, and we're upregulating the incidence of autoimmunity.
Well, and autoimmunity, which is prevalent right now in our society, really got driven in massive numbers back in the early 80s or so with the induction of the food pyramid, which really introduced the paradigm of increasingly consuming more inflammatory foods into our diet, which is not good. I know people would say, well, we're just getting better diagnosis. Whatever. Go back to the basics, and you're going to find that the basics really mean a lot, and we'll find ourselves having less joint pain. Another thing to think about too, and it's probably a key point, is maintain flexibility of motion. The less you move, the more tight you're going to be, the more those joints will get stuck in that place.
You also want to ensure that if the joint is red or hot or swollen, that somebody takes a look at it. It could be a bursitis, it could be a gout, it could be an infection that needs to be treated and not ignored.
So when you're talking about joint pain, obviously it's a very complex subject matter. There's a lot of different areas, nutrition, inflammation, et cetera, that would have a play in there. Just look at all those things. Don't go down the medicinal pathway first, but go down all these other pathways like we talked about, and let's see some better joint mobility and less pain there. I think you'll have good success with that. So I hope this helped a lot. Kingdom Candy with a K again. 2 flavors. We got salted caramel
Delicious.
and peanut butter. These are great. I mean, they're
kind of like a complete meal.
yeah, they're 200 calories. People want to know that all the time, and not that we're worried about calories, but these things have great ingredients. They're not sweetened with sugars. They don't have those false sugars or fake sugars, artificial
They've got
sugars.
fiber in them.
They do. It's interesting. Salted caramel crunch is our newest flavor. We'll come up with some other stuff at some point, but those can bridge the gap of that sweet tooth craving. They're sweetened with monk fruit. That's really, if you know what that is, it's not going to raise blood sugar.
It's really only 2 grams of sugar. I refer to it as the sweet without the cheat.
Any of these things out here are designed to be money saving, nutrition giving, and life enhancing. And this is a big deal. So you'll find out, like thousands of other people did, that these things will help you live healthy longer.
Can a shake transform your life?
If it helps you invest in your health on a daily basis, the answer is
Yes!
Kingdom Fuel is our complete nutritional meal shake.
It's the simple start to a transformed life.
We'll auto ship every month so you don't run out.
You'll receive 2 free shaker cups, free access to our video courses, and a monthly call with us filled with practical inspiration.
Just see the link below or on your screen and subscribe today.
Let's go.